राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with first light of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire tree who can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Mukam karoti vachalam pungum linjayate girim yatkripa tamam mande Shri Gurum Vintaranam. So Hare Krishna dear devotees. So we were doing chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga, and I think we did complete until verse number 19. So what we did was, like, it was about the yoga, Dhyana Yoga. So in the beginning, it was the lower stage of yoga, Arurukshu stage from 1 to 4, advancing in yoga through detached work, basically Nishkam Karma Yoga. Basically, one should not give up work, but continue to work. The real Krishna is saying, basically not being attached to the fruits of the work and just working as an obligation. One is, that is the real renunciation. And otherwise, if somebody just gives up work and just doesn't do any duty, that is not real kind of renunciation. And it is like yoga, it is same as yoga, because like renunciation means also that you are doing it for Krishna, and yoga also means connecting with the Supreme, right? So that is considered to be yoga. And then Krishna described about, okay, when should one be able to give up the work? That was yoga rudha stage, when one can give up the work, because when one is completely free from sense enjoyment, and when one is completely free from sense enjoyment, and one is completely has controlled his mind. And we heard about how mind should be actually controlled, otherwise it will be our enemy. So if the mind is controlled, then one is actually connected to the Supreme Lord, and they see the duality. They are free from the dualities of this material existence. Beyond, they don't distinguish between happiness and distress, or heat and cold, honor and dishonor. And also they see everything. It doesn't matter whether something is a pebble or a stone. And even higher level, that envious and friends and enemies and well-wishers and benefactors and neutrals and mediators, they see them as the same. So, and then after that, we heard from 10 to 32, the section that we are doing now, that are the different stages in the practice of yoga. So we know that there are 8, in Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 stages, Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, right? Those ones, and Asana, Dharana, Samadhi, right? Those are the 8 stages. Krishna is giving, that is the section that we have been doing now, and we did up to, so it is the choosing a place and how one should sit straight, right? Controlling the senses and sitting straight, all the everything, the body, neck and head, everything erect in one line, right? All that we already did. And then in the 19th verse, that the last one that we did was, as the lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled sometime remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. So that is what. So basically, if the senses are controlled, then that is compared to, we heard that, right? How the comparison we heard. What was the comparison? Somebody remembers? So what is the lamp representing and what is the wind representing? Anybody remembers the analogy? Wind. What is the wind representing in this 19th verse?
Is the wind the senses?
Material desires. Wind is the material desire. Lamp is the yogi whose internal function have completely stopped, right? Other than in relation to meditation on Atma. So it is the desires which makes us waver, right? So now, continuing on that, 2021 and 20 to 23, they are clubbed together and it is described in detail the stage of perfection. So someone wants to read? Okay, or I can, or somebody has anything to share before we start.
I can read, Mataji. I don't have.
No, does somebody has anything to share before that?
So I think Mataji, after this, Krishna is explaining about Atma, how, like what is Jivatma, what is Paramatma, and how Atma cannot be destroyed. It doesn't have a birth, or it won't die, and just it takes a different body, and it cannot be destroyed by any those five elements also. That's what. And also Prabhupada describing that Jivatma and Paramatma is like a two birds in a tree.
Yeah.
And the Jivatma is just looking at the fruits in the tree, whereas Paramatma is looking at the Jivatma. And it's like in a heart, both of them are there. Once Jivatma look at Paramatma, then he will become free from all sufferings. And also Krishna says, one who understand that Atma, about Atma, he will not kill anyone, will not harm any of other living beings. But also here Prabhupada explains that but when a judge give a punishment to a person, like hanging up or something like that, then that doesn't come under killing. It's like he is whatever mistake he did, those karma he is it's getting reduced by those punishments.
Yes.
So similarly in the war, if Arjuna is worried about killing Bhishma and Dronacharya, so he's saying it's not like Prabhupada is saying, like it's not like killing, it's like obeying the order of Krishna. So their karma will get reduced only. It will not, nothing will happen. And also he's saying that if we think that there is no Atma or anything, it's just all the chemical actions and these things combined together and we are getting the birth, then also Arjuna should not worry about fighting with the with Bhishma and Dronacharya. And also it's mentioned that we cannot see Atma, but we can realize or feel the Atma. So it's not possible to prove that Atma exists, but we have to realize it. And whoever there is Advaita and Dvaita, right, Mataji? So the Advaita people thinks that the Atma is the light that comes Paranjoti, I think. I don't know the exact name, Mataji. So it's from the light they are thinking. So once we realize it, we will become one with the light. Whereas Dvaita will think that we take a form and still we will be in relation with Krishna once we attain, once we get the self realization, like we go and go to Golok and serve Krishna. So that's what I read about in till 26, I think, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Mahima, Mataji. Okay, so should we continue now? Okay. So let's continue. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. So mind is completely restrained from mental activities by practice of yoga.
Mataji, you want me to share the screen?
Oh yeah, yes, please, Prabhu. The perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Oh wow, so packed, right? So everything is just so when one is in samadhi, the mind is completely controlled and there is no like the mind will not bother at all, the desires will not bother at all, right? That's what we heard earlier also. Yeah, so mind is completely restrained. So there are like 5 stages of mind control. So mind like in the lowest ignorance mode of ignorance, it is sleepy and dull, right? In passion it is always agitated. Then it is like sometimes it is a little distracted, so which is kind of beginning of goodness. So it means it is not agitated but it is a little distracted, so that is beginning of goodness. And then when mind is concentrated, that is mode of goodness. And then complete focus, no material effort, then meaning mind is just completely focused on the things that one does. And there are 4 states of consciousness. So it is like rooted at material level, like Jagruti. So meaning material level, we are kind of awake. And Swapana, it's a subtle material level, like when one is in the dreaming stage. Susupti, it's just withdrawn within oneself. And Samadhi is redirected at spiritual level, right? At spiritual level, one is completely connected to the super soul, mind focused completely, right? So that is, those are the like different consciousnesses and the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness, what happens to the mind. And beyond goodness is one is completely connected with the Supreme Lord. That is the mind control. And so in these verses we heard about that. One second. The verse here is, yeah. So then actually when one's mind is completely in samadhi, connected with the Supreme, so it says that this perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind. What does that mean? That one can understand that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We are spirit souls, not this body, right? And then we can relish and rejoice in the self. Then the bodily miseries and problems don't bother us because we understand that we are not this body at all. And that is the transcendental happiness, right? And because when we realize that we are not this body but the spirit soul, then our senses are not like also the material kind of senses, right? Yeah. And then one just stays in that realization, and there is one is not shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. And then that is how, so basically that actually getting out of the bodily conception of life is the solution for all the miseries, right? Okay, so let's go to the next verse.
Mataji, I think whatever I said comes from the second chapter, not from the sixth.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling.
Just
What
now
you're
I was
saying is coming from the second
Yes,
chapter.
Mataji.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
So
Mataji.
it's
I was
okay. Don't
reading that
worry.
one.
Don't worry. So basically, but in this Kali Yuga, for us, the best yoga is to practice Krishna consciousness and chant the holy name, right?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, I was thinking whatever I read, it's not matching here because I was reading from
Yeah,
the
that's what
Tamil
I
book.
was thinking. Where did she is speaking about second chapter actually, but I didn't say anything because I thought maybe in some purpose there may be something.
Yes, I was confused too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Mataji.
And no
Actually, I
worries,
was
no worries.
reading the Tamil book, so I didn't see here.
Okay.
That's why I got.
It's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yes.
So that now in verse number 24 and 25, Krishna is going to speak about how to practice the yoga from the initial stages in order to attain the stage of perfection.
Mataji, I have a question. In that previous verse, it was the Brahma stage, right? It was the Brahma Bhuta stage, right? It's the same thing with
Brahma Bhuta, yes.
18th chapter. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it is the when one realizes that spirit soul, we are not this body, and they might be, and the super soul also probably. Yeah. So now verse number 24 and 25, Krishna is going to describe about how to practice the yoga from initial stages in order to attain to the stage of perfection. So 24, Krishna speaks about practice with determination and with a heart devoid of despair. So Krishna says, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. So we know the hierarchy, right? Mind is superior to the senses, and senses are superior to the dull matter. So with the help of mind, we can actually control desires. Meaning, what is the meaning? We cannot, there will always be desires, but we have to dovetail those desires and determination and faith. There is, without determination and faith, we cannot actually move in spiritual life, and that will come with devotee association. So initially there may be very little faith, we may not have strong faith, but when we read something, when we hear something, if we apply that, then we will have some realization, and with that our faith increases, right? When we do little something and then we receive some reciprocation from the Lord in some way, or devotees in some way, then we, this works, right? Then our faith increases. So, and that actually with association of devotee, it happens. So that determination and faith is very, very important. And material desires means basically what is material desire? Sense enjoyment, right? For ourselves and those whom we think are ours based on the bodily conception of life. So, so those desires have to be dovetailed, understanding who we are. And actually, if we understand that we are soul, then we will understand what is ours too properly, right? So yeah, so that is what is this one, determination and faith. If anyone follows the principle with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. Everybody knows that proverb, right? So what is the right kind of determination? So we know from Nectar of Instruction, Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dharyat. So that enthusiasm, then patience and confidence in Krishna, right? So patience without enthusiasm, it will lead to mode of ignorance. Enthusiasm without patience, mode of passion. Enthusiasm plus patience, this is mode of goodness. And if faith in the goal, and faith should be there in the goal, that okay, if we end the process, okay, if I follow this process, then I will attain that goal. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that verse comes, and Prabhupada quotes that in 241. What is that? Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrid Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karam Krithaya, right? And that is enthusiasm plus patience. That is actually transcendental determination. So Srila Prabhupada, he says that good things do not come so easily. You know the difficulties that I encountered in my first years in your country. Sometimes I didn't even know where I was to live. Neither when I came did I have any friends, but I was always determined that somehow I would do everything possible to fulfill the desire of my Guru Maharaj. And despite all difficulties, I always remain enthusiastic. So Srila Prabhupada's, so continuing on 25th. So gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So this is like progress in yoga occurs slowly and steadily. So we need patience, right? We need patience, and we should keep applying whatever is the process and whatever is the, like we hear and read, we should actually practice. So now 26, very, very nice verse, because the mind wanders, right? Like we think, oh, I am applying, but my mind is not cooperating, right? So then Krishna says, yato yato nischalti manaha, very important verse, manaha chanchalam asthiram tatas tato niyam yetad atmanieva vasham nayet. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So one must actually overcome all mental tendencies with steady intelligence and be fixed in self. So that chariot, the horses are the senses, and the reins of the horses are what? Mind. And the driver who is holding those reins is the intelligence, and the soul is the passenger, right? So with the help of the strong spiritual intelligence, one should control the senses through the mind. Yes?
Yes, Mataji.
Intelligence can control the mind, because in hierarchy, intelligence is higher than the mind. And intelligence has the ropes, which is mind, right? So intelligence, but it has to be sharp spiritual intelligence. And what is it that sharpens our intelligence? Study of the scriptures. Okay, right now I don't have control over senses or mind, anything. But if I study scriptures, then I know what is good for me and what is bad for me, right? Then my intelligence will help me to actually control the mind. And when mind is controlled, the senses will also be. And again, for us, the best process and the easiest process is to engage the mind and senses in service of Krishna. Then automatically they will remain controlled. There is no time for us to waste or do anything, right? Now in 27th and 28th, Krishna is going to speak about Brahman realization. 27th, the yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest. Oh, the section. This is no 32 until 32. This is the section. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reaction of past deeds. So mind is fixed on me verily. So basically, if one's mind is completely fixed on the Supreme Lord, so then one, like in the verse, in that, one second, let me drink some water. So just like in that set of verses from 20 to 23rd Krishna sloka, right? Then one gets the transcendental happiness, and which is beyond the modes. When one understands, like in that 18th chapter, that verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatmana Shochti na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. So understanding, getting out of the bodily conception of life is very, very important. And that can be done by engaging our senses and mind and body and everything, just like that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam about Ambarish Maharaj, how he will use his mind to fix on the lotus feet of the Lord, his hands to clean the temple of the Lord, his legs to walk to the temple of the Lord, his ear to hear about the glories of the Lord, his tongue to chant the holy name, his eyes to see the beautiful form of the Lord, his nose to smell the flower and tulsi leaves offered to the Lord, his body to embrace the devotees of the Lord. Like that, using each and every anga of one's body, subtle and gross, in the service of the Lord, right? Then 28, thus the self-controlled yogi constantly engaged in yoga practice becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. So this is like one feels that connection with the Lord when one is completely fixed in yoga, when one is like in the previous verse, is completely connected with the Supreme, always, right? Then one becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest state of perfect happiness, loving service to the Lord. So one understands, when we understand we are spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord, and we also understand that we have a relationship with the Lord. So after understanding that, one has to engage in the service of the Lord. So ultimate success of our service is our increase of service attitude. It should increase. And as our contact with God increases through service, our happiness increases. And if our desire to serve increases, Maya cannot take us away from Krishna, because that is the higher taste has developed. So
Mataji,
yeah.
Mataji, in this verse, this 27th, he realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme. So this is Bhuta stage, right, Mataji? This is a Brahma Bhuta stage, right?
Brahma Bhuta, and also in the next verses he's going to describe about the Paramatma. This is Brahman realization. So means he understands that my Atma is eternal, Satchidanand, and I am not this body.
So what is this qualitative identity with this Supreme? They are just thinking of merging.
Qualitative, No. Qualitative identity, what do you mean by qualitative? Qualities means we are Satchit Anand, right? Just like Supreme Lord is Satchit Anand, our soul is also Satchit Anand. So we are qualitatively one with the Lord, but not quantitatively, right?
Okay, so he understands that he has the same qualities as the Lord.
Same, because of being the Anu Atma.
Right. Okay. So, because I was thinking in terms of
just like a drop of ocean water has the same taste as the whole ocean, right? Just like the particle of gold has the same qualities as the whole mind, old mind, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So in that sense, yeah, it's specifically saying qualitative oneness. It didn't say oneness. It didn't say quantitative oneness.
Got it. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay. 29th. Now it is going to speak about Paramatma realization. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. So basically, when one understands the relationship of everything with the Supreme Lord, that everything, the Lord is the source of everything, and in each and everything, in and every atom, there is this Paramatma. So that is Paramatma realization, and he sees the Supreme Lord everywhere. Yeah. So Paramatma actually is not partial. He is equal to everyone, just as the mother is neutral to her children. Right? So now, result of such a vision on verse number 30, when we are able to see Paramatma in everything, in everyone, then what happens? So for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he lost to me. So so yeah, right? Yeah. So basically, we will always be connected with the Supreme because we are always thinking, seeing him everywhere, right? So he sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, and I am never lost, nor he is ever lost to me. So that is what. And now, so in the purport, actually, Srila Prabhupada defeats the Mayavad philosophy, so that I am never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. So there is a relationship, right? So meaning two entities exist. It's not that I will merge into the Supreme, right? So two do not become one. So two still remains. Devotee's relationship with Krishna is never lost. He is always seeing Krishna's mercy in it. So that relationship is not lost at all. So now in verse number 31, yeah, the Paramatma feature. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. So, one second. Yeah, such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. So what does that mean? So basically the person, if what Krishna is speaking here is that the person understands, this yogi who is connected with the super soul, who sees super soul in everyone and himself and everywhere. So if this person understands that super soul to be the Supreme Lord, that is what he means here, right? That knowing that I and the super soul are one remains always in me in all circumstances. So basically, he's never lost to Krishna as in the previous verse. So yeah. So this is when the yogi by practice of complete control of mind and not having any dualities, happiness, distress, everything equally he sees, then one actually comes to this stage when one is Atma and Paramatma realized, right? So this is what it is about Paramatma realization here. So this is Brahman to Paramatma to Bhagavan now in 32. Let's see. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison of his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress also. Now, what is that equality here? What does it mean? Seeing equality means seeing different people with different natures, races, cultures, castes, etc., to be ultimately spirit souls and who suffer when forgetful of Krishna. The suffering is because of forgetfulness of Krishna, and they become happy when they remember Krishna. So that is what is that equality. Everyone's happiness and distress, it is due to the spiritual connection or disconnection. So actually, that is what is the conclusion of this section here up to 32. Anything anybody wants to share or add? It's like a very philosophical kind of section, but for us, we can take it just like in here, it is described as the yogi is connecting to super soul. So for us, it is like engaging all our mind and senses and everything in the service of the Lord, right? Should we move on, or somebody has something before we move on?
I'm good, Mataji. We can move on.
33 to 36, the necessity of controlling the mind in yoga practice. Very important section. So he acknowledges Arjuna is going to ask the turbulence of the mind, and Krishna is going to speak about how to. So Arjuna asks in verse number 33, Arjuna said, "O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady." So in the whole previous section, we heard about the mind control through the help of intelligence, right? So now Arjuna is saying that, oh Krishna, how am I? So Arjuna, it is in the like 5,000 years ago at the end of Dwapar Yuga, towards the end of Dwapar Yuga, and he has the Supreme Lord as his friend, and he is a Kshatriya and in a kingly position, and he is saying it is difficult to control the mind, and how can we practice this yoga system? So Arjuna is saying, how can I see it? So we saw equal vision, right? In the towards the end of that section, that everyone sees equally in the last words we heard. So Arjuna is thinking, how can I see Duryodhana and Yudhishthir Maharaj equally? Maybe I can see friends and neutral person equally, but never enemies or those who criticize. The strong fickle mind cannot keep the discrimination of Paramatma being equal to everyone for long, right? So we question that, right? So then he says that the mind in the next verse, number 34, he says, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So this is Arjuna speaking, the 4 characteristics of the mind: chanchalam, restless or flickering, and then parmati, agitating or turbulent or mad, balvat, strong, dridam, obstinate. So these are the qualities of our mind. Obstinacy, it means that not accepting any intelligence or logic, right? One is stuck and doesn't want to hear anything. So Arjuna asked that question, and now Krishna is sympathetically going to answer Arjuna's question. So Krishna is saying, verse number 35, Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So we have to control the mind by practice and detachment. So Srila Prabhupada, he says, a disease is cured after a long time by constant application of the correct medicine under the proper directions of the expert doctor. Similarly, the uncontrollable mind is brought under control by practice of constant meditation on the Supreme Lord under the direction of authorized guru. So the analogy that he gives is that the disease is cured by application of correct medicine. So similarly, the disease of the mind of being restless can be cured by constant meditation on the Supreme Lord under the guidance of an authorized guru and by avoiding association with the sense object. So generally, for a disease, the doctor gives us a meditation and something to prohibit, right? So similarly, in order to cure our disease of ignorance, we have to take the medicine of our sadhana of chanting, hearing, and and the things that we shouldn't do, like follow the four regulative principles: no illicit sex, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, right? So then it is possible to bring the mind within one's grasp. So basically, practicing our devotional service. So, yeah. So how can we control the mind? By practice and detachment. So now Krishna says in verse number 36, he is saying that with uncontrolled mind, one cannot practice yoga. So for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled, so now we are hearing the importance of mind control, right? That is the section up to 36. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion, Krishna says. So how to defeat those who say that Srila Prabhupada did not faithfully pray? So basically, we have to control the mind. And the best way in Nectar of Instruction, that first verse in Nectar of Instruction is Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Udarupastha Vegam. And there Srila Prabhupada writes, only way to control the mind is to focus it on the lotus feet of the Lord. And what does that mean? If we are always thinking, how can I serve the Lord? How can I fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master? Then only that mind can be controlled, because mind's function is to always accept and reject. Oh, this is good, this is bad. So how can we use that function of mind in properly? Is by accepting those things which are good for my Krishna consciousness and rejecting those things which are not good for Krishna consciousness, right? Yes? Everybody is with me or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
Mataji.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
Mataji.
next section, 37 to 45. So far, okay, tell me one highlight. Everybody tell me one highlight, what you take from until now. So because this is just something important that we have studied, certain things are very important. So everybody share that you will take from until now what we discussed.
Mataji, I can say that to control our mind is very difficult, as Arjun says, even in that. So, as you said, Prabhupada mentioned in the purport of Nectar of Instruction that some verse we have to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord if we have to control our mind. And if we control our
Yeah.
mind, this will be controlled.
Yeah. And what does it mean by focusing on the lotus feet of the Lord?
We keep thinking about Krishna's pastimes or chanting or whatever
Service. How should I serve? How do I do this service better? How can I serve my spiritual master? How can I serve Srila Prabhupada? How can I do this service better? If we are always engaging our mind in thinking about how to serve Krishna better, then yeah, yes, definitely yes. Thinking about the pastimes and all those things, yes. Okay, somebody else? Quickly, time clock is running.
Yeah, controlling this mind is very hard, Mataji. But as I think at the end of the verses, it's saying, but still we need to keep on, even though we fall, we still keep on
Yeah.
trying it.
Trying, yeah.
So that's the way to attain it.
Yeah. And what did Krishna exactly say? Detachment and practice.
Yes, Mataji. So the
Yes.
Sanskrit word is Abhyasa Vairagya.
Abhyasa, Vairagya, yes. Very nice. Somebody else? Kalpana Mata and Vanita Mataji? Are you guys available?
Mataji. So Krishna says that if mind is flickering, so we should bring it back.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Vanita Mataji? Okay, anyway, let's move on to the next section, 37 to 45. So it is speaking about the destination of the unsuccessful yogi. Like, okay, somebody is practicing this yoga for a long time, but Arjuna is going to ask a question in verse number 37 now here. That what happens actually if one does not complete, right? Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?" Okay, what happens then? Let's see what Krishna says in verse number 38. O mighty armed Arjuna, Krishna, O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? So meaning it's like we say in Hindi, dhobi ka kutta na ghar ka na ghat ka. Means if I started practicing yoga, then I am neither here nor there. I mean, I haven't attained perfection yet. So what will happen to me? So will it just completely perish? Arjuna is posing his doubt, which is a very thoughtful doubt. So then this is he's putting his doubt in front of Krishna humbly. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I asked you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. So no one other than Krishna can destroy our doubts. And see that a sincere student, he is asking his spiritual master. So when a disciple expresses confidence in his spiritual master, the spiritual master also opens his heart and reveals his treasure. So if we ask humbly and sincerely, then we will get the answers. So now in verse number 40, Krishna speaks and he assures Arjun that your practice will not be of waste. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil." So this is what Krishna is assuring Arjuna, that no, it's not going to be a waste and you will not be overcome by evil. So Srila Prabhupada, in a letter to one of her disciples, Nirmala Mataji, he writes, "Please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter dated November 3rd, 1976. And it is very nice how you are appreciating. It is also nice that you are caring for the devotees. They have left everything for me. So they should be treated as sons and daughters." So means Srila Prabhupada is reciprocating to his disciples that if somebody has done something to him, he is reciprocating. So just because like Krishna also reciprocate, right? Yeah. So, and also there is something like this one quote I Kalyan Krit. Any activity which is not aimed at ultimate self-realization or liberation from the material bodily concept of life is not at all auspicious, which is not aimed at ultimate self-realization. So basically, that is not auspicious. Activity in Krishna consciousness is the only auspicious activity, and anyone who voluntarily accepts all bodily discomforts for the sake of making progress on the path of Krishna consciousness can be called a perfect transcendentalist under severe austerity. And because the eightfold yoga system is directed toward the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious, and no one who is trying his best in this matter need fear degradation. So basically, if the goal is to attain Krishna and serve Krishna, then it will not, actually there will not be ever a degradation. Yeah. So then verse number 42, or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. So if we cannot complete, means if we don't reach the goal, if we don't go back to spiritual world, then still our birth will be in an aristocratic family or a transcendentalist family. So we can practice from wherever we left off. So in second chapter also there was a verse, right? Neha vikarmun ashvasti pratyavayuna vidyate swalpam api arthasya dharmasya tarayate mahato bhayat. Even if we do a little bit of something in Krishna consciousness, there is no waste, right? So fortunately, both so Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he gives his own example. He says, fortunately, both our spiritual master and our humble self, means Srila Prabhupada, had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord, and both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. So generally the children which are born in such families, they are like already like there is a chance for them to practice from the very beginning of their life, right? And then they are, so we see like some children, they are in the beginning, they are so much inclined to devotional service. So let's try to quickly complete this. Verse number 43. One taking such a birth, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. So means when, if we have not completed in the next life, we will start from where we left off in the previous life. Just like, you know, the bank balance, the material assets that we gain in this life are not going to stay as it is in the next life, right? But this bank balance of spiritual piety that we gain by engaging in devotional service of the Lord, they remain intact, because that is the asset of the soul. That is not a material asset. Any devotional service that we do for Krishna, that is like the bank account for the spirit soul, and it never deteriorates, it never goes down, it keeps increasing if we keep adding little to it, right? And this is accessible in no matter what life, no matter how many lives we have to take, right? And that is how we see, right? Some people, they just keep come in contact with some devotees and they make advancement so fast, and there are some others who take so long. So it is because of what they have done in their previous lives. So verse number 44, by virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of scripture. So they are not following that, it's ritually, but they are actually inclined to engage in the service of the Lord, right? So Krishna is assuring that there is no complete destruction of what you have done in your previous lifetime. Verse 45, and when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. So there is a verse in that Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samatmasu Durlabha. So basically, when one is endeavoring for success with determination, they will attain the supreme goal. So the cause of falling from the path is lack of enough effort. So generally, when we don't make enough effort, then only there is a fall down. Otherwise, if we keep making effort, then we will get success. Like Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, that in spiritual life, we should always keep taking small step in the right direction. It's not that we have to just completely change immediately. No, slowly, gradually take one step after one step. We should keep progressing. Otherwise, we will regress. So in devotional life, there is no stagnation. So if we stay at one level, then actually that is either regression or progression has to happen. So if we are not taking small steps in the in higher to go to the higher level, then there will be a fall down. Just like in a slide, when you are sliding up, right? When you are going in a slide on the upside side, right? So you cannot, if you don't go up, if you don't keep going up, you will slide down, right? Like that. So meaning the fall down happens because of the lack of enough effort. We should always keep making efforts, always small steps, incremental steps, small incremental steps we should keep making. Yeah. Okay. So now the last section is 46 and 47, the topmost yogi. So Krishna describes the topmost yogi. So maybe we can just read the translation now, and then next week when we start chapter 7, then we can just discuss these two verses, because 47 is more important, so that we will do everything in there. A yogi is 46. A yogi is greater than ascetic, greater than the imperialist, and greater than the fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjun, in all circumstances be a yogi. Right? Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga, and Bhakti yoga is the topmost. So now yoga. Are you in connection with God? Yoga means connection. So last verse is very important verse. 47, but we will discuss next week. And of all the yogis, the one who, with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna, everyone. So, so basically, what should we, the essence is that somehow or the other, we need to connect ourselves with the Supreme Lord, see the Lord in everything, right? And that will happen if we engage in the service of the Lord, right? Slowly, gradually, keep increasing, keep increasing, keep increasing. Yeah, somebody has something to say, add, correct.
No, Mataji. I think for me, I always feel it's a challenge. Chanting.
Huh?
I always feel it's a challenge for me to chant.
Uh-huh.
I'm weekly 4 days. If I do 3 days, I miss it. I don't know how to make it perfect, Mataji.
So, okay. So